Yeah, welcome back to my channel. We're going to do another indie filmmaker reacts to how Hollywood portrays working on set. So again, this is from the idea that Hollywood films working on set a certain way. This is kind of a joke though, because this is going to be when Michael Cera flipped out on the set of Youth and Revolt. When it came out, this is an oldie but a goodie. When it came out, it was sort of set up as, can you believe Michael did this as a real thing? But obviously as time went by, or if you just know Michael Cera, this was obviously staged. This was obviously fake. He's best I can figure, he's a pretty awesome guy. So this is all fake. Yeah, I like this. I forgot, this made me laugh so hard the other day that I ended up watching Youth and Revolt, which it's on YouTube. So if you want to watch it for free on YouTube, it's just, you gotta sit through ads if you don't have YouTube Premium. Let's see how it goes. Yeah.
Calls me an asshole, I get a note in my trailer saying you're not down to earth enough. And it's been going on for a long time, and it's not one person, it's everyone.
There's gotta come down. We have.
Okay, so, most sets, the golden rule is, unless you're a crew member who's supposed to interact with actors, don't interact with actors. Their game is a different kind of game than everybody else's, so if you throw them off their game, the picture is messed up. Whereas if a grip is having a bad day, it probably won't affect anybody. So unless you're, somebody like the director or the AD or the, cinematographer or the makeup artist or an assigned PA to an actor or talent, most everybody else doesn't really interact directly with actors. If they come up to talk to you, you're allowed to, be friendly with them, but you're just trying to keep them in their zone and try not to, throw them off their game. Yeah. Michael Cera has a problem with, I think that's the director. It's either the director or the first AD. It could be the guy in the white shirt sitting down, could be the director, but I think that's the DP, the director of photography. But he comes in saying that somebody left him a note in the trailer that he's a jerk, and he's upset about it. Usually when this happens, you want it to be a private situation, so maybe the director would say, hey, can we go break off for a second and have a conversation about this? But if it's a quick thing that you can just get out of the way real quick, then maybe the director would have this in front of the crew, but you don't want the crew watching this. In that initial shot, you saw a bunch of people behind everybody to the left. That's where everybody is sitting. So he's doing this with an audience, which is like a worst case scenario because, yeah, there's like a rule, I heard it recently, I forgot who said it, but basically, they were talking about how they used to think that the director sets the tone for the set, but in reality, it's the star, the main actor, sets the tone for the set. I definitely buy into that logic more. Michael Cera, obviously, this is his movie, sets the tone for the set. And so if he's giving off these kind of really bad vibes, then that could be bad. And that's the whole bit that they're doing is this is an actor misbehaving, and how do you deal with it? This is a prima donna moment or whatever, a needy actor, all those cliches. And it's played straight, which is why Michael Cera is such a champion, because he can do this kind of stuff. He can play it fully straight and you believe it, and it's hilarious because it's so intolerable. I don't remember this came out before or after Christian Bale freaked out on that Terminator set on the director of photography, Shane Horribut, who's a big YouTube guy. I don't remember, this video may have been a reaction to that. So he may have been making fun of Christian Bale, but I'd have to look at the timelines. But yeah, so, if you're a crew member, you stay where you are unless your boss or the first AD or says somebody, hey, ready to take 5, and then you just walk away. Happens a lot, I'd say on the last show I was working on, this maybe happened once a week at most. It was a pretty chill group, but every so often it happens, or every so often, stuff gets heated, and the crew doesn't need to be part of it. It's the big people, which is the talent and the director's team, needs to hash something out, and crew doesn't need to be party to that, and most of the really the big sets, the fancy stuff, the big money stuff, you wouldn't be able to record this anyway. I think the bit is somebody's filming this with their phone, which is definitely a thing because that's how most set stuff comes out. But yeah, most of the stuff, especially post-COVID that I've worked on, you can have your phone, but there is no photography that's not sanctioned. There's a set photographer for a reason, and the camera team's doing their thing. And if the behind the scenes people are getting material, then that's that. But you're not allowed to You can't post this kind of stuff. You'll get fired. So yeah, let's let it play.
I'm not gonna come. Okay, behavioral issues are the least of my fucking problems. Okay, say it. Say it to me. Say it to me. What? You say it.
No, we get it. We get it.
And what is it? Say it in English.
It's okay.
Say it in English.
So that's especially condescending. Say it in English, which do I need to explain why that's condescending? But he's making sure that everybody in the crew hears it because he's trying to shame the guy with the crew, which is messed up. But he's also saying it in English because he's saying, you know, the set language is English, which is just not true. You know, everybody has their own languages wherever they work. If you're working in Belgium, you may have an English speaking crew, you may not. Obviously, I think they're in LA, so this is a new point. But even then, I think he's speaking Spanish. Yeah, and a lot of times specialty roles like stunts or the director of photography or the director might not speak the local language. So so that's pretty messed up.
Chewy, I need to hear it. I need to hear it to understand.
You look in the guy.
Okay, what is it, Chewy?
The guy with the ponytail behind Chewy is so uncomfortable. That's so great because that's really what it is. Because nobody wants to be part of this, but you can't leave because if you leave, then you might draw attention. So unless you're ordered to leave, you just stay where you are and don't get in an eye line and don't make eye contact with the talent because, you know, they need to do this for whatever reason. You know, stay professional. That's really what it is. Stay professional. Don't let it get personal. And I'm not even scolding the talent because the talent has reasons for doing this too. You know, you do it enough, you get a bad rap for being hard to deal with. But you know, the talent are putting their face, their body, and their emotions on the line, on the frame. They're going to be representing this. So to have them, you know, have that leak out a little bit onto the set, onto the crew, it's not great, but you know, it's kind of part of the process. I'm definitely not endorsing it.
I'm sorry.
What is the problem?
He thinks you're great.
Yes. That's what he said.
I respect you people. I respect the crew. I respect you, Max, but you're amateurs.
He touched Max and Max backed up. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good.
Give me 100% of the crew is amateurs, and if this movie's worth watching, it'll be a fucking...
So he just had his assistant or the wardrobe person give him not a coat, a robe to wear, so he doesn't have to walk around looking like his character. It's so
miracle,
good.
because it'll be the first time in history that a movie made by amateurs was any good at all. And my heart's in it, and you guys step on my heart every day. You know? And they're calling me, and I don't know what to tell them. And I respect the crew, and I see it on the call sheet every day, the funny little trivia things about what I say and all that. And it's not funny.
Okay, so I think he's referring to the call sheet, which I'm not even sure the actors get a call sheet. I guess they do because they have their call times on it, but I don't know. Yeah, sometimes there's on the call sheet, in addition to essential details like the weather and your call times and expect this kind of stuff. If it's stunts, they'll have a note about that and about safety. But sometimes there's trivia, sometimes there's gags. The Teamsters have their bingo game that I genuinely don't understand, but I've been on the board a bunch, so I'm sure it's something embarrassing. The wardrobe ladies have their games. Like, everybody has games. It's been a while since I've seen the clip stuff to people's shirts game because that's how you get fired. But I went to film school. I played the C-47 clipping to everything game. I don't recommend it. So yeah, there's a little game. So I guess he took one of the games personally. I guess that's the bit, is he didn't like what was written about him on the call sheet, which again, that's on the AD department or the director's department to not make that kind of stuff personal. But the bit is he's taken it too personally anyway, so.
Dude, no one, you know, people think you're nice. You know, there's really
It's
no
not-
reason to, if somebody...
Chewy,
we can figure out who wrote this note.
behavioral issues. When I pay money every month to talk to people about it, I talk to people and they tell me what the issues are, so I don't need to hear it.
So he's ranting, trying to explain himself, which there's no explaining, which is what's so great. But look, if you just look around, this is a lot of the crew. You see There's monitors there on the left, so that's probably Video Village. Monitors on the right, I believe, is the director of photography. That woman in the red is doing continuity, probably, so she's either continuity or a script supervisor. Yeah, but the whole crew is having to wait for this. Oh, it's fantastic. And it's like, it's always uncomfortable. And when this kind of stuff happens, the silence just gets like deafening. Oh, it's brutal. And so, yeah, it's so great. This cracks me up.
Here, it's the least of my fucking problems at this point. And this movie is, I mean, as well as I do that it's...
What note do you got?
What note do I have? I am down to earth.
So he starts talking about, well, you know, this kind of movie, which is the sort of not saying it without saying it thing where everybody knows this movie sucks, which is, again, one of the greatest faux pas you could do. You don't say that kind of stuff. Like the cast and the crew, I'd say probably the crew more so than the cast, because the cast has to get into the talent has to get into the headspace to make it work. But the crew, you know right away as crew whether or not this movie is garbage or whether or not this movie has a shot. You don't really know whether or not the movie is going to be Oscar worthy. Even if you have Oscar worthy people on set, you don't know that. But you can usually tell a straight garbage movie, and then any other movie that's above that quality, it's a little less clear. But yeah, again, the dialogue, when you hear the same lines over and over again on set, which you do, because it's just waiting, you know, it's actors doing dialogue the whole time. And when you hear the dialogue and it's bad, you know. So yeah, there's no secret there. And so he's sort of hinted at that he knows that it sucks, which is hilarious because Youth in Revolt is spectacular and the dialogue is probably the best part of it, honestly. Anyway, moving on.
Who? Yeah, if you want to laugh, then laugh. If it's funny.
So somebody in the background like guffawed at him on purpose. Don't do that as a crew. Don't get involved, because if it comes back to you, and like, for instance, he's the boss. He's number one on the call sheet. Michael Cera is. So if he's mad and he figures out you guffawed at him and he took it personally, he can point to you and say, this guy's gone. And that's it. You're gone. You know, like, that's how it is. So, you know, but the fact that, like, the bit is, he's so ridiculous that, like, he's made this a really uncomfortable moment for everybody. And clearly it's been happening so much that people feel okay to just verbally guffaw and tease him because he's so intolerable. It's a thing. Don't be that person, because again, that's how you get fired, but it's a thing. So
Humans, people laugh when things are funny. Don't hold it in. Exactly. Funny, right? Haha. Uh-huh. Let's do a take.
All right, guys, looks like we're going again. Pictures up!
Asshole.
okay, so he finishes his rant and then he goes, all right, let's do a take. The actor doesn't decide that. The director says we're doing a take. So the fact that he did that is like the ultimate disrespect. Also, half the people walked away. Like, you're gonna have to wait to reset to have everybody come back in. So it's the prima donna stuff. Like, the fact that he's like, let's do a take. You chased off half the people that are supposed to be in the seats over there working. So now you got to wait for those people to come back. Like, there's no self-awareness, which is the whole bit. Because again, Cera's a champion. Yeah. And so the guy goes, we're doing it again. And then somebody shouts out asshole. Probably somebody in the director's department or one of the actors. I couldn't tell. I think that was the bit, is we don't know who said it. But yeah, the let's do a take thing, that's a classic when the talent thinks they made their point, then they're like, okay, now let's go. It's like, that's not up to you. And also that power move doesn't work because the AD now has to call everybody back to set, because in this case, the director of photography and a few other people left. So, you know, you can't do the take. You got to wait. So anyway. Yeah. What else do I want to say to this? It's hilarious. It's incredibly uncomfortable to sit through. I remember watching it the other day and being uncomfortable, but I also remember that, like, when you're in set mode, it takes a lot to actually get really uncomfortable with this kind of stuff. because you're just working, like it's a gig. So, you know, it sucks, and this kind of behavior happens occasionally, but it's, unless you're on an incredibly messy, unprofessional set where this stuff happens all the time, and then at that point, the conversation is, how do you turn it around, and or do you as a worker just want to leave? Because there's no problem with that. Again, I always point to, if it feels gross and it feels bad what you're doing, leave, because it's probably not going to get better. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, yeah, it's classic prima donna stuff. It was really tame. I mean, it's really annoying when it happens, but if this kind of stuff happens, you know, there's some days at 9 a.m. the director of photography and the director are at each other's throats, and by 4 p.m. that same day, they're hugging each other and crying and having, you know, an emotional moment that they're never going to forget for the rest of their lives, except it's on set. So you have those moments all the time. So you will forget, probably. It's, you know, it is what it is. Stay professional, keep it clean, grow a thick skin. Most actors are not going to be this intolerable. I think it's hilarious that Michael Cera has such self-awareness that he's like, I can put this out here, because he's not that guy. Yeah, you know, actors, the weird actors are going to be weird, and most of them don't push it this far because they'll not get called back, and everybody's scared of losing their jobs at the end of the day. But again, I give the actors some leeway, just because they're doing a different kind of difficult job, because their job involves manipulating their own emotions, and I don't have that toolkit, not even a little. So it's funny. The last thing I want to say is, I worked at a production company in my mid-20s for a while, and they did a bunch of stuff, but they had a talent that they kept booking stuff, kept getting, you know, performances, taped performances. You know, some of it's, you know, written, I don't know. Some of it's scripted, some of it's performances, but yeah, there was like a major talent at this production company that I was working there with, and so I was exposed to this talent over and over again. And this talent, I was warned by several people before I ever met this talent that they were tough to work with, and I didn't really understand what that meant, because I'd seen the like prima donna meltdown stuff, like this stuff, but it had never, you know, gotten to me. It had never, like, I'd never been in the crosshairs of it. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, working enough to, I think probably the 5th or 6th time I worked with this talent, and this person was just sucked. Just like, I can't get into specifics, because if I say any details about this person's career or what they do, to figure it out would be too easy, and it actually could come back to me, because this kind of person would be vindictive about it. But yeah, this person sucks. Talent sucks, and it became a running joke for me and the rest of the office PAs, because occasionally they would drag us to set, or they would drag us to whatever project that this talent was working on if they ran out of PAs, which would happen for financial reasons, or people would leave. Because again, this talent, I guess I could say this guy talent was intolerable. Yeah, all the time. But there was one particular moment, and so we would like negotiate if we knew that one of us on like a Friday afternoon was going to have to go either deliver paperwork or equipment to this talent, or more likely work on set. We would negotiate on who had to do it, because we knew it was always going to be horrible. And sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, but this consistently, like, I probably worked on set for this talent maybe 10 projects, maybe 15 projects tops. You know, most of them are 1 day or 2 day things, but yeah, fits, meltdowns, slamming doors, just disappearing and not coming back, all the kind of stuff. But the one that stands out to me, and I'll never forget this, because it was at this talent's place. And so it was intentionally, and I think I owed my PA buddy days, because I think at that point I was in grad school, so I owed him days anyway. So he kind of forced me to do this day, and it was at the talent's place. and it was the producer that I've worked with a bunch, so we were cool. Like, and this talent knows my face. I don't think he ever knew my name, but he knows my face because I've worked with him that much. But it was intentionally the smallest crew you could get away with for this scripted, like, 5-minute video that they were going to do. But when he saw us pull up with an art department box truck and then a camera box truck and then a few other cars, including me, I was parking cars, he refused to come out of his place because it was too big, it was too expensive. Why are we doing this? It's like, what? So that was strike one. And then, 100 strikes later, it's in the afternoon. We're probably 4 or 5 hours away from being done. So we're, maybe 5 hours in. I think it was a 10-hour day or 12-hour day, but we've had lunch. We're just trying to get through the rest of the day. And they're doing a setup, and they decide to push in on the setup. So they're going to change their setup and get closer for the close. And the first AC, I believe, so the first assistant camera knocks over a thing in the room that was owned by this talent. Obviously, it was the talent's house, so everything was owned by this talent. But it was an important thing to him. And when it knocked it over, there was like a deafening, like, bam in the room. And again, this is a crew of like 5 to 8, I'd say. And he went over and he looked at the thing that fell over and he started swearing. And then he goes, that's it. I'm done with this. And he stomps into his backyard, and my director buddy follows him out there to go talk to him. And we're all sitting there frozen. And I'm wearing a leather jacket owned by the talent because the bit was he was talking to himself. So I was the reaction shot. So I'm sweating in the talent's leather jacket, and I make eye contact with the first assistant camera who knocked the thing over. And he's petrified. Like and he didn't move. He's still kneeling where he tried to pick it up when the talent came over and picked it up. About 10 minutes later, we hear him shouting the whole time. About 10 minutes later, the director comes inside and goes, guys, it's going to be a while. We think we're going to come back. So just keep everything set up, dump cards, check batteries, whatever. And we're all just sitting there in silence. And I believe it was the talent's fiance, I believe. I don't think they were married yet, was sitting at the table because we had sort of like a table that I was using, mostly just to print stuff, but she was also there. And so it was just silence because obviously you can't say anything because the fiance is there. So we all just sat there in silence for probably an hour. And we hear banging. Somebody peeks through the curtains. The talent is not out there. Went back into the back garage for something. We don't know. And the director comes back and goes, clean everything up. We're going home. We're gonna have to do an early start tomorrow. And the first AC goes, am I fired? And the director goes, no. And you could see like the relief, horror, like the cycle of this first AC going through the motions. And it was just like, dude, just find somebody else. I don't think he asked me. But I knowing what I know now, you call one of your first AC buddies and say, hey, you need to replace me tomorrow because there's no, yeah. I wasn't on the next day. I think I made my PA buddy go in my stead the next day, and it was at a different location with this talent. But I told my PA buddy what happened. I think he offered to switch with me, but like it's that kind of stuff. So yeah, you don't. As much as I give actors a lot of leeway, this particular talent had such a reputation for being just a jag, just a total wang that, this was just one more thing. And it didn't even I think the only person other than the talent that was actually upset in that house, not the fiance, was the first AC, because it was a genuine mistake. And the first AC just wanted to apologize. and then realize that that's not the kind of person we're dealing with. At that point, I was so like, by the time I got on that set, I was so ready for crap to happen with this talent that it didn't matter. But yeah, so that's it. That's the story. You know, bad behavior on set is a thing. You deal with it. And if you're a professional, you know, you deal with it, and you get a reputation for, you know, nothing flapping you. The only other thing to mention is boundaries. If they're going to keep doing this, either get out of there, or if you have the power to get rid of them, get rid of them. Obviously, in this situation, in the situation that I was addressing, the talent was the one in the control of everything. And so the only way to appropriately deal with that is to get out of it, because they ain't going to change. So, yeah, like, share, subscribe. Catch you next time.